going to be a short one about quality versus quantity training, okay? Now, quantity training is obviously how much you're doing. Quality training is how well you're doing it. So I think endurance athletes, you're looking at your runners or your long distance runners, ultra runners, cyclists, triathletes, swimmers. I personally feel that we're in an over volumized state. We do too much quantity and not enough quality because we're too fatigued to do it. So the whole philosophy at METS is train smarter, not harder. So we take people, or the common person that comes in, that they probably do between 15 to 25 hours for a typical endurance athlete, and a lot of it is just long, slow, continuous base training. So what I mean by quality training is, find out what your training zones are. So you come in, you do a test, you figure out what your training zones are, and then you find out what your strengths and weaknesses are, your physiological strengths and weaknesses. Once we find out what your weaknesses are, it's really easy to prescribe training, it's quality training, to improve that performance, boost that performance by up to 10 to 15% perhaps, okay? So what I mean by quality training is it's not going out and doing 15, 20 hours, it's actually doing 5 or 6 hours, getting the same benefit as doing 18 hours. So you get a lot more out of it. Now there's this thing called minimum effective dose. And what that means is that we want to do the absolute minimum amount of training to get a positive response. Okay, we don't need to do lots, we just need to get the minimum amount to get a positive response. The body will not get better unless you give it time to adapt, okay? And the analogy I like to use is it's like trying to water a flower. It might sound a little bit funny, but it's like the body is like a flower, okay? If you plant a seed and you want it to grow, you need to give it the right amount of water and the right amount of sunlight, okay? So that's the stimulus. That's like going out and going for a run. You've got to give it the right stimulus. But it doesn't matter how much stimulus you give it, if you don't give it time to grow, overnight, at least a couple of days, that flower's not going to grow. It doesn't matter how much you water it and how much sunlight you give it, it's only going to die if you overwater it. You need to give it time to adapt. The body is exactly the same. You need to give it the right amount of stimulus. So that means hitting the right training zone for the right duration, the right work to rest ratio, getting lactic acid in when it needs to be and not when it's not, and then giving it time to adapt, okay? 18 hours of training on fatigued legs, you're not going to adapt, you're going to break down and get injured. We want to get a positive response, hit that zone, get recovery, and then boost performance that way, okay? So you don't need to do too much. So there's a couple of ways that we can do quality training. One is, again, training zones. We do that. And then you might say, well, what do I do in all the other time? Well, strength and conditioning. How many of you are actually injured at the moment or have been injured in the past a couple of weeks or a couple of months, okay, or throughout a season? If we can get a strong base training, we can actually do strength training while we're not fatigued, all right? If we're not fatigued, we're going to build up strength, build up our motor unit patterns, and we're actually going to run better, train better, race faster on less fatigue, less training, but significantly increased performance. So just think about what you're doing now. Is it focused? Are you getting 100% benefit out of every session, or are you just doing junk kilometers? Guys, if you like this video, please comment any questions below and get involved in our METS Mastermind group. We're going to post the link below, but it's a free group where we post every bit of content that we create, whether it's a video, an article, a blog, something that we find in the endurance industry. We put it all in there and you can actually ask questions about anything related to endurance performance. It's completely free. Click the link below, get involved.